Morning YouTubes, welcome to the next video on the Triumph Scrambler 400X. Now, any of you that own this bike, or I think the speed is the same, will know that the seat is a bit hard for long distances. So I have a plan today to do something with the seat. Now let me spin the camera around. Old man looks at the camera. There's the bike. Just zoom that out a little bit. What I've been using at the moment, obviously there's the stock seat, comes in two pieces. I've been using this homemade little seat pad cover, whatever you want to call it, and there's a bit of toolbox shelf rubber that you put your tools on when you chuck your tools in the toolbox. There's one of these sort of generic airflow pads that you can buy off of eBay, Amazon. It has got a grippy bit on, but I put this on as well. And then this is a old sheepskin hat that cost me a few quid off of eBay that I cut up and put on the top. Then just with an old strap, set of loops just to clip it underneath. It's all right, but it's not perfect. So the plan today is, let's get rid of that. I have bought some memory foam. This is doubled up in the packet, so it's obviously half that thickness, and the idea is to put that in the seat. However, this has just arrived, and as you can see, I can squish it fairly easily. So this was supposed to be sold for motorcycle seat use, but it might be one of these just generic. Do you know what, let's advertise it for motorcycles. Let me just pop. Let's advertise it for motorcycles and see what mugs buy it. Well, I bought some, it wasn't expensive. So the plan is to pop the seat off, have a look at the fixings. I think the cover's going to be stapled on. I've got a stapler, which I will drag out. First thing I will do is make sure that my staples will go into the seat base, because if they don't, there's no point in me taking the cover off if I can't reattach it. I'm gonna have a look at the seat. I have done this before with a multi-strada. I'm gonna have a look at the seat, see if I can cut a panel out and put this foam in. But I will sit on it a few times to see what difference it makes, and then play it by ear. I will try and video the process, because if there are a few of you, and there are a few of you because I've seen the comments online about how hard the seats are, it might be of some use, and it might encourage someone, give them a bit of confidence to give it a go themselves, because it's not difficult. You don't need a massive amount of tools to do this. Basically you need a screwdriver to get the old staples out, a pair of pliers, a staple gun, some contact adhesive. That's the tricky part, because that stuff sticks like shit to a blanket as soon as it touches together. You've got to be really careful when you put everything back in. So yeah, contact adhesive, and then obviously a staple gun to reattach the cover. It's not hard, as long as you take your time and you're careful about it. So I'm now gonna pull the seat off, pull this, well, what I might actually do is I'll take out this memory foam, cut a bit out, put it on the seat and have a sit on it and see if it feels any different. If it doesn't, then you won't ever see this video, because I won't bother recording it, because I won't bother doing it. But if this video is longer than the couple of minutes that you're at the moment, then obviously I did do it. It either went well or it didn't. You'll find out soon. Right then, let's look at this button. Catch you in a bit. We're back. Initial testing, the arse feels that it is softer even with only one layer. And obviously you can put more layers in. So let me just spin the camera around again. That's the foam out of the packet. I mean, you can see it does literally squish to nothing, but that a little bit does seem to give some sort of padding. So what I'm going to do now is grab some tools out. I'll run through the tools. We'll take the seat off, and just reduce that down a bit. We'll get the seat off. I'll put a rubber mat out, so obviously I can work on that, and we'll see how we get on. It's either going to go very well, or I'm going to be on eBay later, buy myself a new seat. And yes, I know there are companies that will do this for you and you can pay them to do it, but some of the prices they want are horrific. I think that cost me a 10 or 15 quid or something, and I've got the rest of the tools and my time's free. So effectively for 15 quid and a couple of hours of my time, I can save myself 100 quid, you know. And I like doing stuff, I like doing it myself. I like experimenting, having a bit of a fiddle. Might encourage some of you to do the same. Let's grab some tools out and I'll show you what I've got. Things you'll need is obviously a few tools. Now we have some impact adhesive, a couple of screwdrivers to lever the original seat staples out, a pair of pliers to take them out, a lot of spare blades, brand new blades, very important, and a 5mm Allen key. As I'm sure you know, the seat comes off with a key for the pillion seat. You've got your two 5mm there, which I've loosened already, and then the seat just lifts off and comes out backwards. Let's just pop it down there. Take the screws out for safekeeping. And then underneath, give it a bit more light, you can see that the cover is secured by multiple staples. So the first thing I'm going to do is obviously make sure I've got enough staples in the staple gun, because otherwise you'd be in trouble if you run out. So I'm going to make sure I've got them, and then find a nice flat part of the seat and just see if the staple gun will penetrate. I've got a feeling that this adjuster is for spring tension, so I might have a play with that and we'll see what happens, because that's the first thing I want to make sure that I do before I take the cover off and then start playing with the foam. So let's crack on. The next thing you'll either see is the seat cover off, and basically all you're going to do is put your screwdriver in, loosen the, I'm not going to do it because I've only got one hand, but loosen the staple enough to get a pair of pliers and pop it out. I'm going to have a look at the length of the staple, because you don't want anything that is going to be too long in your staple gun that is going to protrude out towards any of the external part of the seat. So once I've got that out, I'll compare it to the length of the staples I've got and make sure they all match up. Right, no time like the present. Right, we're back. Now, if that will focus, hopefully it will, you can see that these are my new staples, that's the seat staple. It is probably, if I can put them together, which I probably won't be able to. Now, will that focus? It is a couple of mil longer. So the new staples are a couple of mil longer, so that's something we have to bear in mind. So what I'm going to do now, I've already started doing a few, but I thought I'd just show you what I do. Just get a screwdriver, pop it in, and then just lever half of it out. He says some are more stubborn than others, and then all you can do with your pliers is grab hold of the staples and pull them out. Easy as that. I'm not going to bore you with the rest of it. I want to get that done, get the cover off, and you'll see what it looks like. We're back with the seat cover mainly off. What I've done is, if you can see there, I've left in the rear staples, because what that does is that just locates the seat cover nicely, nice and square where it was fitted at the factory. It makes it easier to put it on because it's easier to stretch it over with the sort of fixed area at the back. And there's the seat foam, and obviously that just slides into the cover and locates into place and is pre-molded. You can see it's covered in plastic film, and that's obviously because the seat cover's not waterproof, especially around the seams where it's stitched there. So you will get some water in, which is why that's there. So I'm going to take the plastic cover off, have a look at it. What I'll probably do is I will use this trim line here, if you can see where the stitch has been and has just depressed it a little bit. I might use that as a guide, not only because it gives me something to cut around, but because when I put the join back in, any irregularity with the join will hopefully be hidden by the stitching, if that makes sense. So let's get this plastic cover off, have a look at the seat. I may cut it because that bit's going to be quite boring, but obviously the sharpest, newest blades you can find, and as soon as they start getting a bit dull, change them, because you want this to be a nice clean cut. This is the point of no return. Let's do it. So you join me probably only about 5-10 minutes later. I did have to go inside to get some longer knives because it was proving difficult to cut through. So I used a longer knife on this side, but I actually used the Stanley blade, craft knife blade, whatever you want to call it, on this side. I think this side was probably better. It doesn't make much difference because it will all bond back together anyway on the foam. And obviously this is the pad that you've removed. The tricky job now is we need to cut this in half to thin it down, because what I'm going to do, the base is going to remain, and obviously that will bond back in place, and then I'm going to replicate the top half of this in that foam. That's the time consuming bit because that will take a while, but obviously I can use that as a pattern on the top there. And because it is foam, when you bond it, you can actually squish it into place with the contact adhesive. Again, that's the tricky part. So what I'm going to do now is spend a bit of a time with the craft knife, with the Stanley blade, trimming this down to leave myself with the base, which will obviously then bond back into there, and then the thin part of the top. Now I have seen people try to cut a section out with this seat as it is. I've left the front part because that will be easier to fit back on the seat, but yeah, I've seen people try and thin it out. It's almost impossible. I have tried that, it's impossible. Or it's impossible for me. Maybe you could use a hot blade, you know, like a thin electrical wire or something. Maybe that's the way the pros do it, but I've always found it's easier to take the whole base off, cut a section out, thin it down, put it back in, away you go. It is fairly easy, it's just time consuming and you just got to be careful. Let's get that thinned down, cut in half, and I will be back. As if by magic. Now, to thin this, all I did was put a slot, you know, cut a slot in it, and then slowly peeled the two parts away, and then just cut through it. Obviously, you want to keep it as equal thickness as you can, because when you're sitting on the seat, you don't want there being a bump on it. And then use that as a template, cut that out, and then obviously as I've cut it at an angle, as you can see, to fit in there. So the next thing to do now is the tricky part, and that is contact adhesive on there and bond it together. By nature of its name, it does what it says on the tin. As soon as it touches, it sticks. So what I generally do is I do it in small sections. I don't do the whole thing, because when you're working on one bit, it only takes another part to touch and you're all over the place. It's a bloody nightmare. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bond these two parts together first of all, so we've then got a solid base. I'm then going to offer this up. Obviously it doesn't have to be perfect because this is foam. As you push it together, it is going to stick, and it is going to stick evenly. This isn't metal or wood. This hasn't got to be a mechanical fit. Don't sweat if it looks rough, you know, if it looks like that. Honestly, don't worry about it, because it will bond together. You know, any small imperfections that you've got, as you can see, will just, if I can hold it, it will just squish together. It will just adapt, and it will mold itself into all the little nooks and crannies. So don't worry about that. So the next thing to do is, as I say, impact adhesive in sections, mask off what you don't want to get this stuff on, because it goes everywhere. I think I've got some brown paper that I might lay down on the floor, or you can use a bin bag if you weight it down, anything you want, just to try and avoid getting it everywhere, because it is messy. And I would put gloves on for this, because then obviously if you stick to it, you can leave the glove behind and then work out what you're going to do. If your hands are stuck to it, they're stuck to it, and you're then stuck with a sticky hand. So I always use gloves. Let's start getting this bonded. It's a nice warm day today, so it won't take too long to flash off, because you do need to spray it, leave it to go tacky, and then start sticking it together. So let's get the base bonded first. Then we can then look at how much of this we need to trim. As I say, I'm going to mask off some of it, because I don't want contact adhesive to go in places where I'm then offering this up and it's going to start sticking to it. So it is a bit tricky, but just have a bit of patience, take your time, work it out, mask off the bits you don't want to get mucky, and you know, slow and steady, and it will be good. Don't worry about it. I say, at this point, it looks rough and you're all thinking, oh my life. Patience, all right, patience. So stage one is done. Rebonded the base back together, and as you can see, yeah, you know, it goes together pretty well. You can line everything up. The gap there is deliberate, don't worry about that. It's because I want to leave a nice fat section here to drop in there. So I've got a nice straight edge. So that's the base bonded. All I did really was just mask everything up with a masking tape. So I masked all around there, and then I masked this edge here. So this edge is all dry of contact adhesive. And obviously just sprayed it on a separate bit of paper. And now you can see, the idea is this will go in. And obviously it will, if I line it up, it will sit in there. And then the idea is, you obviously bond it with the contact adhesive, and you take your time, do it a bit at a time, work all the way around. I normally start at the front, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start at the front with bonding that together, so it's a nice flush surface. That cut mark there is where there was a rib of the seat, because obviously the seat's got moulded ribs in it, so that's where one of the moulded ribs was. So that joint will be hidden if you can see it anyway. And then, yeah, literally any high parts you've got, because you want this to be fairly level, so any high parts you've got, I had a high part there, a little high spot there, so you just trim that flat, because you want that base to be level so that you're sitting on a flat surface. So the next stage is going to be basically start spraying it in small sections, and hold it away so nothing sticks while you're doing it, and then start putting that down, and you'll see how it goes, hopefully. So the next thing you should see is the base, or sorry, the seat, the new seat stuck onto the base. Now I have put the two together, and I've sat on the bike, and it is miles more comfortable than with the old top. So things are looking good. Obviously, if it all goes wrong, you just get the old top and you stick it back on there. It's as simple as that. You know, it's not the end of the world. Then you slap the cover back over. I know it sounds a bit bodgy, but don't worry, it will be good. Stick with it. Back in a bit then. So there we go. That is the new memory foam top. Bonded in. Let's say, because I've followed the lines of the stitching, any sort of irregularity will be hidden. But I wouldn't worry about that, because I've done covers before where it's been a perfectly smooth cover, and any sort of join like that you've really not seen. I mean, the shadow makes it look worse than it is if I put it in the light. Can you see that? It is a fairly even join all the way around, and that's bonded down. So what I'm going to do now is put the plastic bag over to stop any water getting in, and then fit it back to the seat base and staple it down. So what I'll do is I'll get the bag on, I'll get it into the base, and then you will join me again then. Hopefully it should slide in nice and easy, because it is a little bit fatter, but you can see it's much softer. Happy days. Back in a sec. Foam's pushed back in, which is, as you can see now, why I left it connected at the back, so that it gives you a sort of fixed point to push it all back into. So all I need to do now, and I work so I go side to side as I go, so that it keeps the cover nice and square for when you get to the front. So obviously it lines up perfectly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start the stapling process. Once that's done, the seat's finished. I'll pop it back on the bike and you'll see the finished result, and you'll obviously see why I cut it, where I cut it, and the fact that I used the stitch marks to hide any join mark, and obviously the one at the front hides any join mark there, and you should see that it will be spot on. Let me get that stapled and then you'll have a look afterwards. So I'll be back soon. And we're done. I ran out of staples, so I do need to, I've ordered some more just to restaple it, but it is roughly in place. I say roughly in place, no, it is in place. It just needs a staple every other one now just to secure it properly. So as you can see, because I left the back in place, the front fits nicely, everything is in place as it should be. There's a more around to it. You probably can't see that. Can you see that? There is more of a round to it, and that is because obviously the foam is thicker. The memory foam was 50mm memory foam. So what I'm going to do now is pop it back on the bike. You can see now why I use the seams to cut where I wanted, because now, as you can see, the seat looks completely normal. So let me get it back on, get sat on it, and let you know how much comfortable it is, or more comfortable it is, should I say. So there we go. Seat is finished, it's on, and as I say, the only thing that you can see that might, if you knew the bikes really well, that might make you think anything had been done, is the seats are normally completely flat, and this one has obviously got just a slight bow to it because the memory foam in there. But rock hard, soft. Sitting on it, huge difference. It's like night and day. So hopefully I can retire my old woolly hat, my sheepskin hat, and that'll be comfy. I'll give it a bit of a spin and let you all know, but that's going to be in another video, because I'm going to have a bit of a tidy up and then go have a well-deserved beer sat in the garden, I think. Hope you've enjoyed that, guys, and I hope that's of some help and gives someone a bit of confidence to give it a go, because you know, as I say, if it all goes wrong, glue it all back together and put it all back on. Right then, I'll catch you next time. If you've liked seeing stuff on the 400X, there will be more things. There's plenty of stuff I've got to do on this bike, so there will be more. So like, subscribe, all that usual YouTube stuff, and I'll catch you next time. Ride safe all, see you soon.